Microphone is working. I know it to be true, and I would never mess that up because Nick Chubb, it looks, is imminently about to sign with the Houston Texans. According to multiple reports, we saw early this morning that Jeremy Fowler said that the Texans and Nick Chubb had mutual interest in each other. And then it got ramped up when Jordan Schultz reported sources. The Texans are working on bringing in former Browns star running back Nick Chubb for a visit on Monday. Chubb, who spent 7 seasons in Cleveland, could end up pairing with Joe Mixon in Houston if the visit goes well. Diana Rossini says the Texans are expected to sign running back Nick Chubb to a 1-year deal pending a physical. Per sources, Chubb received more lucrative offers from other teams. That's good to hear, but could sign a more incentive-laden contract to join Joe Mixon in Houston's backfield. It makes a lot of sense for Nick Chubb himself. He had a devastating injury in 2023 and didn't look like his old self when he came back this year. It's not like he did nothing out there, and I'll show his highlights from this season where you can see, look, he still broke tackles, had some good runs, was able to bulldoze over people at points, but he didn't have the same crispness in his cuts. He didn't have as many explosive plays. He was also playing on a horrendous team in the Cleveland Browns, but started the season on the PUP, ended up playing in week 7 or week 8. And then after playing in 8 games, he suffered a broken foot in week 15 against the Chiefs, ending his season prematurely. That broken foot is likely the big thing that they're worried about. The physical, obviously, they want to check out his knee. But I have seen in a bunch of these reports, in a bunch of these stories, he hasn't always been a huge receiver throughout his career, but obviously he has that in his bag. I think Woody Marks is the guy you're hoping really steps up for the Texans to become that receiving threat. The whole three teams will say that these articles are saying he's had 3.9 yards per carry over the past 2 seasons, which is bogus, and I'm insulted on behalf of him. If you look at his career stats, 2024, yes, 3.3 yards per attempt, but in 2023, he had 6.1 yards per attempt before the injury. So it's not like he's been on some steady decline or something over the last 2 years. I don't know why they choose to frame it that way, other than to show that they know how to calculate mean or something. He wasn't the same guy. The question is, all right, is that upside still in there? How much of it last year was his knee, and like how much is he covered from his foot? Significant upside here. The contract, I'm guessing, isn't going to be anything that anybody gets worried about, given, as Diana Rossini reported, he had better offers from other teams. And the Texans, they've got $15 or $16 million in cap space right now. But the big thing with the Texans cap space to always remember is this is 2027. They've got the 7th most cap space in the league in 2027. When Nick gives out all of these short-term deals with a boatload of guaranteed money, he's got a lot of flexibility to work with things on into the future. So any deal they give him, I think, is going to be absolutely fine. This is, in a lot of ways, kind of like the Cam Akers signing last year at the beginning of training camp, except that I actually get more nervous about a guy coming from Achilles tendon surgeries that he's had in his career, more so than Nick Chubb at least being able to play football, because he already demonstrated that he could last year. A lot of questions. Thank you, everybody, for rejoining me after I had just all these ridiculous technical issues, as I tend to do. Big question everybody has. Last year, Pierce was having issues. They signed Cam Akers. This time, they might sign Nick Chubb. Seems like their MO. The Dameon Pierce is the big question. If we look at the Texans depth chart right now, I believe I have the one where, let's see, let me pull up the depth chart. And then Jawar Jordan is still out there as well. And obviously Woody Marks, who's a different type of back. So at the bottom there, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, Woody Marks, Dare Gumbawale, J.J. Taylor. I'm sorry, J.J., I forgot you. And Jawar Jordan. J.J. Taylor and Jawar Jordan, they have their, the size challenges and whatnot. Those guys are wild cards right now. I'm not going to factor them in. With Dameon Pierce and Dare Bungawale, a lot of that's just going to depend on special teams, but that does get to be a really crowded room there. Dare is over the age of 30 right now, and I think for right now, I'm guessing that they genuinely want to see what Dameon Pierce does in Nick Caley's offense. And if he looks more like he did when Pep Hamilton was calling the plays and the scheme is more fitting for Dameon Pierce. I mean, Dameon on those zone runs was just a fish out of water in a lot of ways. I mean, when it's supposed to be one cut and go, he would just sometimes kind of shuffle his way into it. And where a guy like Arian Foster might be 3 yards downfield already, Dameon was still trying to make his cuts. They could put plays in that would benefit the Dameon, but the O-line wasn't drilling that the same way they were trying to drill the bread and butter. So it's a complete and total wild card for me right now. I think Damien's going to have a genuine chance to prove himself during training camp. When we look at the performance last year and how far Nick Chubb was off from his peak, really, yards after contact is very telling because that's a guy that could break a lot of tackles. If you look at yards after contact per attempt, he was 2.69 per carry after attempt, after having a career average of 3.85. Forced some missed tackles, but had the ratios don't quite match up. The one thing that you could make at least a little bit of an excuse, if you look at his yards before contact per attempt, throughout his career, it was above 2 yards. 2023, in that minuscule number of attempts, it was 3.6. Last year, 1.7 yards per attempt. Some of that can fall on the running back himself if he's not hitting the hole hard enough. But the upside is really the intriguing theory. And this is a no-risk, high-reward scenario. And we saw last year, I mean, Cam Akers came in, showed that he could play again. Nick ends up getting some draft capital for him. I would prefer it this year, especially because, I mean, Nick Chubb is exactly the kind of guy that can give you what Joe Mixon gives you and use those two as a combo, as little or as much of Nick Chubb as you need, but without Joe Mixon having to necessarily have 25, 30 plus yards per game too routinely. 100% all upside. DP is Alfred Blue version 2. I don't want to insult Alfred Blue here, but I disagree in that Dameon Pierce had a longer stretch of productivity in his rookie year than Alfred Blue did. Alfred Blue was a smattering of. You remember that one really long Alfred Blue run where it was like the best run he'd ever had, and then all of a sudden in the out of nowhere he decided to like juke himself when no juke needed to be juked, and he ended up getting tackled. Like Alfred didn't have the same feel for the game. Oh, that just hit me too. University of Georgia, Kamari Lassiter is probably one of his idols coming up here, coming onto the team. Didn't really see British Brooks as a fullback. Good point. Let me bring this up again for the Texans depth chart. I was very intrigued by British Brooks as a fullback. And remember, they brought in Jacob Johnson. I think that's a genuine competition. Brooks, after never having played the position, came in and in that one preseason game was wrecking shop. He was doing stuff that honestly, he did something to a defensive tackle that I felt bad for the defensive tackle. Like it's hard to look your family in the eyes in the family waiting room after that happens to you in a game when a fullback does that. Let's just remember this. This is, let me turn the volume off or I'll get copyright checked. Let's just remember that this at his prime before the injury, no belt, might be barefoot, or at the very least, he's just, look at him, no knee wraps. That's Nick Chubb. It's a flex bar. Don't be overly impressed by the fact that the bar is bending as much as it is. Like Sports Center doesn't know that. They've never had that amount of weight on the room. Running backs by far most impressive strength to body weight ratio on a team. That's why when they chip block you, it's devastatingly painful. It just absolutely sucks. Yeah, and I know he's working out with the running backs during voluntary OTAs. Fullbacks work out with the running backs, and yes, he has the ability to be a running. The modern fullback needs to be a receiving threat, needs to be able to be used as a runner. All of that. I think they will get him reps at a running back, but I think his future in the NFL, other than perhaps a short yardage back, is probably at fullback. And I really liked what I saw from him at fullback. Honestly, will be good this season. Texans fans getting too damn soft, and it's sad. If you're just joining us right now, Kasia, not 100% confirmed, but Diana Rossini says the Texans are expected to sign running back Nick Chubb to a 1-year deal. More competition in the running back room without injuries. I see a higher ceiling with a no risk. I think for the most part, most of these comments that I've seen are the appropriate level of intrigue that, man, there's upside there. I would rather have Nick Chubb coming 2 years removed from a devastating knee injury and after having done some good things on a bad team last year, but not consistently enough. There's upside there. I think that this is minimal risk. This is, you know what, you guys are handling this better than when the Rockets signed Carmelo Anthony to a 1 year, $2 million deal. And for whatever reason, a lot of people thought like, oh yeah, it's Carmelo. It's going to be awesome. And then he lasted what? 36 hours with the team. I know that's an exaggeration. And when he was gone, people acted like it was a failure. No, it was a $2 million deal for an NBA player. And you'll see what exactly Carmelo can do with the squad. And then you cut ties if it doesn't work out. So this is exactly that. It's a huge name and the upside is there. But it's also a running back who, at his age with his injury history, there's a lot of reasons to gamble. There's a lot of reasons to bet that he'll never be the same version of what he was, but you just flat out never know. Let's see. No, this was the technical issues are completely self-inflicted. They're all mechanical in nature. The plug comes loose and I forget to rejigger everything. Yeah, it's not like signing Amon Green. That's a great point. So Amon Green comes in, and that's a guy who's a named player, but in his declining years, but he's got a relationship with the offensive coordinator with the Texans, and you're just hoping for the best because you know the guy. I know the guy. Nah, this is coming in with eyes wide open and saying, we'll see what we've got. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it could be really good. And if it's not really good, I will not fault them a single bit. Just as I said with Cam Akers last year. And I'm guessing Nick Chubb it's going to be a better deal than Cam Akers got last year. But I said from the get-go with Cam Akers, man, if this works out, it was an awesome move by Nick Caserio. If it doesn't work out, then it was just such a minimal risk compared to the various other guys you have on your team who, the rookie free agents or just half your rookie draft picks in general probably aren't going to evolve to be good NFL players. The upside here is Nick Chubb if he can get back to his form. From everything I've seen, Nick Chubb is also a big culture guy. Even if he doesn't work on the field, it would be great for the team. That's a great point, Gabriel, because this does also, go back to the Texans liking guys who come from certain programs. We know they like guys from Georgia. We know they like guys that like to compete, have a good rep from going back to when Nick Caserio would have scouted him. And I think he'll come in appropriately hungry. I don't think this is like a David Thompson type situation where, people, David Thompson, geez, what was that? Oklahoma State running back from whenever. Anyway, so I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see maybe what he's out there doing in OTA or in minicamp. If he's out at it's mandatory minicamp. He'll be out there. Is he going to be working out on the side? Is he going to be working with a team and getting some reps? I guarantee you he's going to look physically impressive. The running backs always look physically impressive. They're freaking units, man. But Joe Mixon, too. I don't think there's one bit of Joe Mixon that would worry about this. I think Joe Mixon is a smart dude. He's in a walking boot right now. He knows that the best way to age gracefully as a running back in the modern NFL is to have a guy that can take the load off. And whether it's Nick Chubb or Woody Marks or Dameon Pierce or whomever it might be, it's nice to get 1,500 plus yards rushing, but it's also nice to be on a winning football team and to also just not be banged up all the time. So I think the chemistry will end up being really, really good. Yeah, great for short and red zone situations if he's back to where he was. Great locker room guy, as we said. Yep. All right, cool. Back at it. Payne and Pendergast in the morning, and I'm going to try to I'm churning out videos more regularly here. I want to try to get in at least 2 a day, just to get the reps. I don't care if anybody even watches them. I know a lot of you will watch them, but I don't even care. I just need reps so that when we get to the regular season, I'm in shape. I'm ready to go. I've recovered from my horrendous. Well, I had a shitload of injuries. All right.